Mirror terror unleashed. You ever get that feeling like you're being watched, even when you're alone? Last night, I was brushing my teeth in the campus library bathroom. Yeah, pulling another all-nighter, when I noticed something off in the mirror. Nothing dramatic, just a weird lag, like my reflection blinked a split second too late. I figured it was stress, maybe the harsh fluorescent lights playing tricks. But if you stick around, I'll tell you what happened when I tried to leave, because that's when things went from bizarre to terrifying. I tried to laugh it off, but as I rinsed my mouth, my reflection's lips curled into a smirk I definitely wasn't making. A chill ran down my spine. I waved my hand. The reflection mimicked every motion, but a heartbeat slower, and with this hungry look in its eyes. My phone buzzed on the counter, vibrating against the porcelain, but when I glanced down to grab it, my reflection didn't follow. Instead, it stared straight ahead, eyes locked on me, smile widening. I could hear my own heart pounding over the hum of the lights. I backed away slowly, not daring to break eye contact, but the moment I turned towards the door, I heard my own voice whisper my name. I froze. The whisper came again, urgent and breathy, but my lips weren't moving. I turned back, and my reflection was right there, pressed against the other side of the glass, eyes burning with something that wasn't quite human. It raised its hand and pressed its palm to the mirror, beckoning me closer. I should have run, but my legs wouldn't move. The reflection leaned in until its face nearly filled the glass, its voice echoing inside my skull, "Let's trade places." The lights flickered, and suddenly, I was staring at myself from the other side of the mirror. I screamed, but no sound came out, only a muffled grin from my body walking away, leaving me trapped behind the glass, watching as my own eyes finally blinked in perfect sync.
Whispers in the dark. There's something especially unsettling about hearing your own voice say words you don't remember. Last night, as I scrolled through my phone in the glow of streetlights bleeding through my blinds, I noticed a new voice memo labeled simply 3:33 a.m. I played it, and chills prickled my skin. My own voice, raspy and trembling, whispering directions. Right at the alley, left at the abandoned laundromat, follow the chain-link fence until you see the flickering street lamp. The final words were the worst. When it knocks, don't run. I don't sleep much lately. For weeks, every night, something taps at my window. Sometimes gentle, sometimes frantic, always at 3:33. I've never had the guts to look, always pulling my covers tighter and pretending not to hear. But listening to that recording, I realized with a sickening certainty, I must have gotten up last night. I must have stood at the window, pressed record, and whispered those directions while staring into the dark. But I don't remember any of it. I spent the day trying to ignore a mounting dread, but when night fell, the knocking returned, soft, rhythmic, insistent. Heart pounding, I slipped on my sneakers and followed the path my voice had mapped. The city felt different at that hour. Empty, echoing, shadows stretching impossibly long. My feet moved as if on autopilot. I reached the alley, the laundromat, the fence. When I arrived at the flickering lamp, I saw something crouched beneath it, pale, elongated, motionless except for its head, which turned slowly toward me despite a complete lack of features. I froze, breath held, remembering the last words. Don't run. The thing rose, impossibly tall, and with a shudder I realized it had no face at all, just a gaping, whispering mouth. It beckoned me closer, and in that instant, my phone vibrated, another voice memo from me, timestamped for tomorrow. As I backed away, the creature's whispers seeped into my mind, promising that if I didn't come back tomorrow, it would start knocking on someone else's window, someone I loved.
Haunting hospital whispers. Last night, the hospital monitor beside my bed picked up a second voice. At first, I thought it was a glitch, maybe interference from another room. But the voice was familiar, warped by static, whispering just beneath my own shallow breaths. I'm not supposed to have visitors, not since the accident, and the nurses always check before coming in. So who, or what, was talking in the darkness with me? I lay still, listening, hoping it was just my mind playing tricks as painkillers wore off. But then I caught words. Don't wake up. Please. Just let it end. The voice cracked, desperate, and I recognized the panic in it. It was my own. I tried to convince myself I was dreaming, but the monitor's green wave flickered with every plea, every ragged inhale. I pressed the call button, but the voice only grew louder, overlapping my heartbeats, echoing around the sterile walls. By morning, sunlight trickled through the blinds, and the room felt colder, emptier. The nurses found me sitting upright, eyes wide, clutching the monitor like a lifeline. The recording was still running. When they played it back, I heard myself begging, no, pleading, not to wake up. My own voice, over and over, layered with something else, a soft, hollow weeping. The staff exchanged nervous glances, but no one could explain it. They said I must have been talking in my sleep. But I remember everything. The moment I opened my eyes, I felt something slip away, something warm, familiar, and safe. Now, every time I close my eyes, I hear the voice getting fainter, more frantic, trapped somewhere just out of reach. I think whatever I left behind last night is still begging me not to wake up, and I don't know how many more mornings I have before I finally listen.
I thought it was just a stupid dare, exploring the abandoned hospital. The air was thick with mold, and the silence felt alive, like the building was watching. We laughed, daring each other to peek into empty rooms, but then I heard it. A faint shuffle down the corridor. We turned the corner, and the hall stretched on, empty, except for a door creaking shut at the end. I followed my friends into a stairwell, but when I turned around, they were gone. Panic set in as I pounded on the locked door. The darkness ahead pulled me in, and my flashlight flickered. For a moment I saw them, figures in hospital gowns, eyes wide and hollow. Then came the whispers, dozens of voices too low to understand, but they were right behind me. I dropped my flashlight, and as it rolled away, I saw feet in stained slippers. When I looked up, the face staring back wasn't human anymore.
Timetable to nowhere.
I'll never forget that night at St. Augustine's Hospital. We thought it would be a thrill, just a dumb dare on Halloween. The moment we stepped inside, the air turned heavy, like the building was holding its breath. Empty wheelchairs lined the halls, and the smell, it was like something rotten. Then we heard footsteps, shuffling, dragging. We followed, thinking it was just another kid, but it led us to a stairwell. When I got there, my friends were gone. I pounded on the door, screaming their names, but all I got was silence. In the dark, I saw figures watching me, and whispers filled the air, calling my name. I stumbled through the hall, doors creaking open, scratching sounds echoing from within. I reached the nurse's station, and a wheelchair moved on its own. Then, right behind me, a voice whispered, "We've been waiting for you." I turned to see a figure in a patient's gown, skin tight and eyes white. I ran, not knowing how I escaped, but my friends never came out. The police said I imagined it all, but I still hear them whispering my name in the dark. The fire crackles, casting flickering shadows as we huddle close, the woods around us unnervingly silent. Suddenly, a branch snaps, and we freeze. "Deer don't wear boots," someone whispers, a chill creeping in. Then, a whistle drifts through the trees, slow, flat, haunting. We cling to each other, hearts racing. Out of the darkness, a man steps into the firelight, his filthy clothes and wide grin sending a wave of terror through us. In his hand, a bloody machete. Panic ignites, and we bolt, branches clawing at us, as that eerie whistle echoes behind. We burst into a moonlit clearing, breathless, thinking we've escaped. But the whistle returns, relentless. The man steps forward, his grin widening, machete dripping, screams pierce the night, then silence.
Haunted VHS unboxing horror. If you've ever felt like you're being watched, really watched, you'll understand why I haven't slept for 3 days. I always hunt for retro junk at thrift stores, but last Friday I found something different. A dusty VHS, unmarked except for the words "Watch Yourself" scratched deep into its plastic. I almost laughed it off as some edgy art student's project, but something about the way the tape was hidden behind with cracked porcelain dolls made my skin crawl. I bought it, thinking I'd post a funny, cursed tape unboxing, but what I saw when I pressed play was no joke. At first, the footage was grainy and jittery, just static and the faint hum of an old TV. Then the image sharpened, and I froze. The camera was pointed at my bedroom, my own room with my ugly orange comforter and the crooked lamp I'd inherited from my grandma. And there I was, asleep, mouth open, completely unaware. For a second, I convinced myself it was just a really good fake. But then, at the edge of the frame, a shadow stretched across the floor, long, inhuman, and crawling up the side of my bed. I kept watching, paralyzed, as the shadow hovered over my sleeping body, its edges flickering like burnt film. The figure leaned close, so close that the screen warped, and whispered something, barely audible, but I heard my name repeated over and over, getting louder with each repetition. I recognized the voice. It was my own, but distorted, as if underwater. In the footage, my sleeping self began to twitch, lips moving in time with the voice, until both voices merged into a guttural, broken chant. I tried to stop the tape, but the remote wouldn't respond. The tape kept playing, the chanting building to a deafening crescendo. Suddenly, the screen snapped to black, and for a moment I saw my reflection in the blank TV. Except it wasn't just me. A second, darker shape stood just behind my shoulder, its hand almost touching my neck. I spun around, heart pounding, but the room was empty. Or so I thought. Every night since, I've heard my own voice whispering from the shadows, repeating the words on the tape. If you ever find a VHS labeled "Watch Yourself," please, for your own sake, don't press play. I think I let something in, and it's still here, watching both of us right now.
Subway secrets unveiled. Everyone always said the city had veins running beneath it, but I never thought I'd see them pulse with life. It was supposed to be a quick shortcut, just a dash through the abandoned subway tunnel to shave off 20 minutes from my walk home. My friend dared me, laughing, "It's just empty tracks and broken tiles." But as soon as I stepped inside, the stale air pressed against my chest, and the darkness felt too heavy, almost alive. Halfway through, I flicked on my flashlight. That's when I saw them. Hundreds of eyes embedded in the tunnel's grimy walls, blinking in eerie synchronization. My breath caught, and I tried to tell myself it was some weird graffiti, tricks of the paint reacting to the light. But then one eye, bigger and darker than the rest, didn't blink. It just stared, unyielding, burrowing into me. I couldn't move. I could only watch as its gaze followed every twitch and shiver, tracking me with unnatural focus. The silence grew dense, broken only by the rhythmic flutter of all those eyelids, except for that one, the watcher. I forced myself to keep moving, each step echoing against the tiles. Whenever my flashlight beam drifted, the blinking eyes would follow, but that single unblinking eye never wavered. It felt like it was waiting for something, or maybe someone, and the deeper I went, the more it seemed to grow, swelling with anticipation. Just as I reached the end of the tunnel, my light flickered. In that split second of darkness, I felt a cold pressure clamp onto my shoulder. I spun around, but there was nothing, just the endless line of blinking eyes, and the one that stayed open, impossibly close now. I ran. When I burst back into the night, I realized my reflection in every window now blinked in unison, except for one eye, always wide open, watching, waiting for me to blink first.
Haunting whispers above me. I always thought the scariest part of living alone would be the silence. But last night, I realized silence can be filled with echoes you can't explain. My roommate, Nia, moved out a week ago. Yet every night since, I've started waking up to the soft hum of her voice drifting through my dreams, like she's still somewhere in the apartment. It's never words I can understand, just her tone, familiar and close, as if she's whispering right behind my ear. I tried to shrug it off, telling myself it was just my brain missing her presence. But this morning, things took a turn I can't explain away. After another restless night, I checked my phone and found a new video in my camera roll, labeled with today's date. Every morning for the past week, there's been a new one. Always a shaky, grainy video of me sleeping, shot from above. In every clip, my hands are visible, clutching the covers tightly, never leaving my sides. I thought maybe I was sleepwalking, maybe it was some weird glitch, but the angle was impossible. I live on the 10th floor, and there's no way to access the ceiling. I finally decided to stay up and catch whatever was happening. The moment the clock hit 3:17 a.m., exactly when the videos always start, I heard Nia's voice again, muffled and desperate, humming that same tuneless song. I scanned the ceiling, the walls, every corner of my tiny room, and that's when I noticed a faint, rhythmic tapping from under my bed. Heart pounding. I knelt down, phone flashlight trembling, and lifted the dust rug. What I saw made me scramble back so fast I scraped my palms raw. Wedged between the floorboards was my old baby monitor, the one Nia and I joked about using for pranks, its red light blinking steadily. The screen, cracked but still lit, showed a live feed, not of my room, but of me from above, with two pale hands holding the camera. Except they weren't my hands. They were reaching down from the ceiling, impossibly long fingers brushing the top of my head, as Nia's voice whispered, "Don't look up,